All right, welcome back everyone. Dr. Ben, not a real doctor here. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about what I've learned by spending a lot of time barefoot and actually training for balance barefoot. So the most immediate thing that I noticed when I go barefoot is the restoration of sensation. You can really feel the texture and the temperature of the ground beneath your feet. And while it might not seem like this is a big deal on maintaining balance, understanding especially the texture of a ground will tell you immediately how much of a risk you have of slipping. You can sort of feel it through shoes because your foot starts to slide around, but that's really more once you start to put weight on it, you can feel it. When you're barefoot, if you're barefoot going across a creek and you've got those slippery rocks, the very second your foot even lightly touches that next rock, you know that that's an extremely slippery rock. With shoes on, you may not notice until you start to put weight down and your shoe actually slips. This sensory input actually does a lot to maintain balance because your foot has as many nerve endings as your hands. All that sensory information is what tells your legs how to fire the muscles to help balance. Without that sensory input, your balance is always going to be a little compromised. It can be mitigated with shoes that have a thinner sole, and you'll still be able to get more sensory information through your feet, but it's always going to be a little hampered unless you're barefoot. And that foot sensation, your ability to sense the ground, is going to be one of your biggest problems when you first start going barefoot. Your brain has turned the volume on your feet way up since you've been in super thick conforming shoes, probably for most of your life. That volume gets turned up so you can try and get any information from your feet. Then when you take your shoes up or take your shoes off, that volume is still turned way up. So surfaces that actually are not really at any risk to your feet are going to feel sometimes painful, or the texture is going to seem super exaggerated. That's not the case. That's just that your brain is used to work so hard to get information from your feet that it's still doing it even though it doesn't have to anymore. As you spend more time barefoot, your brain will readjust and these surfaces won't feel the same. They'll be more like a pleasant sensation rather than a scream in your ear. The trick in that department is to go slowly when you reintroduce all these different textures so that your body can adjust and your brain can adjust over a period of time. Now, the next thing that I really notice, and this is recent for me because while I spent a lot of time barefoot, I haven't spent a lot of time practicing balance barefoot. As my feet have reacclimated and gotten stronger, I've noticed that I use my toes to grip a lot, even on relatively easy surfaces. The first time I noticed it was probably about a month ago. I went on a hike with a friend and there was a tree that was down across a creek. And at this time, I was wearing some very minimalist sandals. I wasn't barefoot. And I could tell going across this tree that I was really irritated that I couldn't get as much grip with my toes as I wanted. And I didn't even realize up until that point how much I had gotten used to using my toes to help balance on trickier surfaces. Just that tiny bit of sole made enough difference that it was actually mentally irritating and it affected my balance. If you know anything about hand balancing, they'll teach you to balance here and arch your fingers so that you can apply pressure with your fingers to maintain balance. Your toes work the same way. You've got a nice, well, here, right? Because the thumb's too short to show that. So here, and you can apply pressure. As you start to roll this way, you can apply pressure with this toe. If you roll this way, you can apply pressure with this toe. If you're going uphill, you can dig into the hill to kind of pull yourself up. As your feet get stronger, you realize how much you can use your toes to benefit your balance. Also, because we spend so much time on flat, level, even ground, it's really not necessary. Our surfaces have been designed to be as low risk and as easy to balance on as possible. The other thing that means is that your brain has started to re-recognize that you have 5 toes, because they tend to get forgotten mentally when they've been squished up in shoes. You know, when your shoes are squishing your toes together like this, your brain starts to think of them as one big long toe, and the muscles atrophy. The shoe does all the work for you, so you really don't even have any control over your toes. Your brain kind of mentally amputates your toes. And you'll find that once you learn how to use your toes again, you'll actually feel pretty constricted, almost claustrophobic, when your toes get restricted. That's been the feeling for me when I have to go back and wear conventional boots for various things. Oh, hi, squirrels. On the rare occasion that I have worn conventional, like steel-toed boots, I'm okay for about an hour, and then after that, it's true claustrophobia. Like, I just have to get the shoes off. I can't stand it anymore. And the last one is just total body health, really. The more your feet can do to move and articulate and balance, the less all the joints, all the muscles up the rest of the body have to do to compensate. If you lack ankle flexion, then your knee, your hip, your lower back are gonna have to make up for it. If you lack ankle flexion, you can end up with a lot more neck movement when you walk. You end up with sort of a whiplash effect. And this can lead to headaches, tight neck, shoulder stiffness. So a limit in your lower leg, your ankle, and your foot can have far-reaching total body problems. One of the reasons that I don't like ankle support on hiking boots is because if your ankle needs to tip this way or tip this way, and you've got a boot that's restricted like up to here on your leg, and your ankle can't tip, then guess what has to? Your knee, your hip, your lower back. You end up having to make much bigger, broad, full body movements rather than just letting your ankle bend a little bit. And I understand why people do it. If you have weak, undeveloped lower leg, the risk of rolling an ankle in the middle of nowhere is very high. But if you train your lower leg and your feet to handle this kind of motion, which they're entirely capable of doing, we did it for hundreds of thousands of years before actual footwear that we use today was invented, you will have much lower risk of knee, especially knee, and also hip injury. You can also take a lot of pressure off your lower back by having better ankle mobility. Anywho, that's my thoughts on, the past 6 months of doing a lot of barefoot balance training, and how much it's affected my proprioception in my feet, my ability to balance, and also how much I notice now when that goes away and how much it affects my body and my movement. I still have a lot of work to go on this. Pretty much all of us have foot dysfunction because we spend so much time in shoes over the course of our life. But it's something that you can reverse. It's something that you can work on. It's something you can make improvements on. And I highly recommend you do. You can have far-reaching health benefits for your entire body. If you guys have any questions about anything, just drop me a comment down below. I'm always happy to answer y'all's questions. If you like the video, smash that thumbs up button. Share the video with your friends. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. Until next time, keep your life in motion.